From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now, or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
We'll start off with a headline from Forbes, an article by Danny Declassification. Headline is 2021 is shaping up to be the year of the UFO. And that is, for quite a few reasons. First and foremost, it appears that we are about to get another mega document dump from the DoD of declassified reports dealing with, what in popular culture and science fiction and television and all of that is typically referred to as UFOs, but has been kind of rebranded to ground it a little bit in the concept so it doesn't seem quite as scary as UAPs. And we've talked about this many times, but that is unidentified aerial phenomena. And John Ratcliffe, who formerly served under the Trump administration as the director of national intelligence community, and that was from May of 2020 to January of 2021, recently on Fox News, speaking with Maria Bartiromo, indicated that a sighting of one of these UAPs appeaappeared to break the sound barrier without making a sonic boom. And this is a big deal. So typically, as physics dictates, when an aircraft reaches the speed of sound, and as it's increasing its speed, the pressure around it, these pressure waves build up and eventually kind of combine and coalesce into a single shock wave. And when the plane then beats that shock wave, essentially, goes faster than that shock wave and travels faster than the speed of sound while in the air, it causes that pressure to very quickly change, which creates an audible sound known as a sonic boom. And we, in the science that we know, and the physics and technology that we know as a civilization and as a pretty crafty and technologically minded species, obviously, have not figured out a way to not have that thing happen. It is certainly a thing that in order to, let's say, maintain covert operations, not give away your position, that scientists and engineers have worked to eliminate or reduce, but they haven't figured out how to get rid of it entirely. And this report that's being discussed here that appears to be part of an upcoming information dump. This seems to have been documented. And Ratcliffe had this to say of the Pentagon's position of some of the stuff in this reported sighting. We always look for a plausible explanation. Weather can cause disturbances, visual disturbances. Sometimes we wonder whether or not our adversaries have technologies that are a little bit further down the road than we thought or what we realize. But there are instances where we don't have good explanation for some of the things that we've seen. And this is definitely one of those. And in the reporting around this, there's conjecture that it's not quite clear why he decided to talk about this at this exact moment, but that it may well foreshadow a massive report that the Pentagon may be releasing soon, and in a declassified form.
Well, they have to, right?
Ratcliffe actually. That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Ben. And Ratcliffe said that prior to leaving office, at the end of the Trump administration, he was working to declassify a lot of this stuff, and it didn't quite work out. The timing didn't work out. So I don't know. It seems like the idea of the year of the UFO isn't too far off the mark with some of the things that we've seen. Certainly some of the videos that were declassified showing some pretty hard to explain aerial phenomenon. It does feel like we have acknowledged as a government, as a country, that these things do exist. Whether they're, we've talked about what that actually means. Does it mean they're from another dimension or from some other much more technologically advanced civilization? I don't think anyone's saying that, or that that's necessarily the first go-to explanation for this. But it's certainly interesting that it's being discussed so openly now for the first time, and isn't making as big of a splash as one might think.
Well, yes, and I know we talked about this a little while back when this legislation was first passed through, right? When we're anticipating it, I guess. But it's really interesting to see more and more officials come forward and discuss it like this, Noel, just to hear what people are actually thinking is going to happen. Because, we too many times we've been through this kind of thing before where nothing really happens, right? I want to jump to whatever that UAP or UFO was that went so quickly but didn't pop or didn't make a large crack when it broke the sound barrier.
Didn't make a sonic boom.
Mm-hmm. It's sonic, but did not boom.
Reading here.
Correct.
There you go. Went full sonic, no boom. But I want to talk about NASA's X-59 aircraft. Ben, specifically, it's reminding me of the X-37B that we've discussed before, except this one is manned. It's meant to have a pilot in it, at least one. And it is a fascinating looking vehicle. Noel, this thing is crazy looking. Did you see that? It's on that Live Science article you linked us to.
Yes. I mean, it looks like the X-Wing, practically. It has that kind of, it's like got a needle nose tip, kind of very, very tapered, very pointy. And yeah, it really looks like a combination of some kind of spacecraft with some sort of, supersonic spy plane.
Yeah, it looks like a pointy rocket. With a human attached in there and a couple of wings.
As somewhat of an afterthought.
Ben, I'd love to get your take on this thing. Again, just connecting it back to some of the X project or the X class aircraft coming out of NASA.
Sure. Yeah. So the thing here is that by necessity, a lot of these projects are secret at some point or classified. So it's quite possible that this could be some sort of man-made craft. It's also, if we want to play a little more at the skeptical end, it's also possible that there was some maybe error in detection or error in technology that just didn't allow people to register the sonic boom, but I think that's pretty unlikely from the way it's reported. And Ratcliffe, by the way, is when he says we were hurrying to get that report out before the end of the previous administration, he's referring to that 180-day deadline that Congress gave the crew to report everything about UFOs that they could reasonably declassify. What's tricky, and they have to check in, to be fair, they have to check in every 6 months, I think, the way the order is written. But to be completely honest, there are a lot of loopholes in this, and they pertain to some of those X vehicles that you mentioned, Matt, because if the Pentagon says, okay, we can explain this footage here, it's our X-98 Cool Whip, which we called because we thought it was a cool whip in the sky. But we couldn't tell anybody about it because then various rival governments will be aware of our capabilities. We'll no longer be able to use this for surveillance or to use this for reconnaissance or to use this for, in the extreme cases, an attack or a rescue mission or a targeted killing, aka an assassination. So if there is stuff that is...
And the name is already trademarked, Ben.
Cool Whip? I think Uncle Sam will take care of that. Yeah. Or has Cool Whip been a government front all along? That's the point. But no, you're right. You're right. This, it does feel like this may be the quote-unquote year of the UFO, the way Forbes phrases it. But also, we've been in this sort of Alice in Wonderland, jam yesterday, jam tomorrow, never jam today kind of situation with disclosure. So I would posit, maybe not for the hardcore UFO enthusiast or people who study this closely, like Greenwald, the guy who made the Black Vault available online. Thanks if you're listening. But I would posit that people are going to encounter a bit of UFO fatigue unless they see something really big in the coming weeks or months, because otherwise We talked about it in the past. It's strange how quickly the most bizarre stuff becomes normalized in human experience, right? Like we just spent a year sitting in our houses, many, many people, and that like pandemic life became a normal thing. And now our reports of declassified UFO footage or unidentified aerial phenomena footage, are they becoming normalized themselves? Because, I can assure you, fellow conspiracy realists, we spent years waiting for this stuff that seems to come out like every month now. It's bizarre. It's indicative of something, but I don't know what. Is it indicative of a change in government policy? Is it indicative of, as some people have proposed, a larger aim to like slowly break the news to people that UFOs are real? And if so, or UFOs are real and non-terrestrial in origin or something like that. I mean, if so, I would question the calculus there. Like why release that kind of information incrementally? I know there's a logic, but I don't know how sound it is. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't know, man. All I know is that in this particular instance, the NASA X-59 was specifically designed to go supersonic and not make a big sound. And they were, at least in 2019, flying it above select U.S. communities to generate data from sensors and, quote, people on the ground in order to gauge public perception. So they could figure out, well, how much does this bother the people below? How many people are saying, hey, there's a weird thump that I heard. It wasn't really loud, but it was definitely a thump, and I could feel it in the middle of the night. It was weird. I'm not sure what it was. Oh, and there was a thing, a light that was buzzing past really quickly. I'm not sure what that was.
Just for a second. It was there just for a second. I heard a thump. I woke up. I saw the light. I went back to sleep. That's the kind of report they're hoping for. But you're right. It doesn't, that one, though.
Yeah, exactly. Everything was fine.
That importantly, though, it doesn't completely negate the boom, right? It's just like a very good silencer for the boom. I think that's as close as they've got it officially.
It's an interesting time to be alive. A lot of very strange things kind of coalescing at the same time, socially, biologically, and now with some of this stuff. But I guess the thing that's always kind of blown me away about some of these revelations, I think you're right. It's that UFO fatigue, right? Unless we really start to see some real data come out, which I'm skeptical that they would release anything that would, be game changing in that respect. But we'll see. I mean, some of the stuff that we've already seen in little drips and drabs feels game changing to me, but also it feels like underwhelming. The collective, response and kind of like, well, okay, that's cool, but not like mind blown territory. So I don't know. What do people want? Short of just like a gray stepping out of a DeLorean, and shaking hands with the president.
Yes. Give me that, please.